Hello, and welcome to the February 2026 edition of the Redwood Real Estate Report. I'm Ben Larson with Larson Home Loans.
And I'm Annalise von Borstel with Hyperion Humboldt Realty.
Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. We are coming up on our 1-year reunion, so stay tuned for that. We'll hopefully plan a little something special. And just thank our listeners and our viewers. And just as we continue to grow, we really appreciate your support.
Definitely. Thank you for being here.
So we're coming to you from the Gross Building in downtown Eureka, where both Larson Home Loans and Hyperion Humboldt Realty are headquartered. Why don't you kick it off?
Okay, I'd be happy to.
All
So,
right.
well, it looks like we're having a really strong start to the year so far. Humboldt had 79 closings in January, and comparing that with last January, we had just 53. So that's an increase of 50%. From
Wow.
January to January. Median days on the market is down to 28. Remember, in December, the median days on the market was 35, and last January, it was 45. So things are trending in a pretty strong direction for our market right now, for Humboldt as a whole. So that increase in the number of sales and the decrease in time on the market has led to an absorption rate that's the lowest it's been since March of 2023. Okay, so remember, what absorption rate measures supply and demand. I'll dive into that in a minute, but despite that increase in demand, the median sold prices are down about 6.5% compared with last January, and down about 11.5% from December's median sold price. Honestly, hopefully, any buyers that have been waiting for the market to be the most favorable for them haven't missed out, because those lower prices and a sold to list ratio of about 92.5% seems really positive for buyers right now. But if February is going to see similar trends to the number of sales and the time on the market without a significant increase in inventory, we're likely to start seeing those prices shift back into an upward trajectory. And I'll be curious to hear what we're expecting and seeing in interest rates too, and how that might affect the supply and demand. The absorption rate in December was 4.8 months, and in January it was 4.2 months, which, as I mentioned, is the lowest it's been since March of 2023. And I always like to repeat that the absorption rate is supply and demand measured by the number of months worth of inventory on the market if the rate of sales stayed the same and no new inventory came on. A balanced market is considered between 5 to 6 months worth of inventory. More than 6 months is considered a buyer's market, and of course, less than 5 months, a seller's market. So that's where we're at for Humboldt County as a whole, and let's dig into some of our larger communities.
Well, before you get into that, what do you attribute the huge increase year over year? I mean, do you see any, obvious markers that would contribute to that? Your 55% increase year over year in sales volume?
I mean, honestly, I just attribute that to a softening in prices.
Uh-huh. Okay.
And also that's paired with lower interest rates from the beginning of last January, right?
Yep.
So it's been very favorable for buyers compared to previous years.
The increase in inventory a little bit. So we have rates, we have inventory, we have sales values coming down a little bit. So yeah, I think buyers are just see it as an opportunity.
Yeah, so exactly. I think that the big increase in the number of sales is likely due to a pairing of lower interest rates, more inventory on the market, and buyers just feeling a little more comfortable about moving forward. So remember, in 2023, 2024, inventory was really tight and interest rates were high. So now I think we're in a really good spot. It might be that opportunity buyers have been waiting for before prices start climbing again. It's been pretty flat for the last couple of years. So thanks for that question, Ben. So Eureka's trends are generally similar to that of the county at large. Median prices dipped nearly 5%, but the median days on the market, as well as the absorption rate, are also down. The total number of sold listings in the month of January are up 60% in Eureka from last January. So all indications that the market's going to start getting a little tighter for buyers. Frankly, the absorption rate in Eureka for January was 2.44 months. And as I described before, this is definitely seller's market territory, despite the slight dip in the median sold price. So Arcata's median days on the market went from 65 last January to just 28 this year, and the absorption rate is 2.12 there in Arcata. And there have been only 5 sales since the beginning of the year. We talk about that sometimes. Arcata sample size is a bit low, but that number was actually the same last January, just 5 sales in the month of January of 2025 and 5 sales in the month of January 2026. And the absorption rate last January was 2.97 months. The median sold price is actually up in Arcata a little over 17% from last January and up 11% from December. So maybe the market's starting to adjust already to all the new housing that's been put up there for the dorms. We will see. Again, 5 sales we're talking about.
Yeah, it's small sample size.
Exactly. And McKinleyville's not messing around, starting this year with an absorption rate of just 1.12 months. Sold prices are up from December, but down 9% from last January. And that's just 6 sales. So like Arcata, very small sample size. Of our larger Humboldt communities, last year, Fortuna probably had the best year. I feel like we were bringing up how well Fortuna was doing all year. Check out December's podcast for more details there. And are they starting 2026 off just as strong? Quick answer is yes. Fortuna's not only increased the number of sales for the month by over 60%, the median sold price is over 30% higher than it was last January, and actually up 19% from December.
Wow.
Yeah. Median days on the market is down from 32 in December to just 9 in January. So that's a pace that's going to be hard to keep up with for the rest of the year, but such a strong start for the Fortuna market.
Wow.
And so now I'm going to get into everybody's favorite segment, the market share. This is where I break down the total number of sales and the median home price in Humboldt County compared with our major markets. But remember, every home is unique, and there are variations even within these communities that I'm going to mention today. So reach out to your professional full-time realtor to discuss your specific property. Total number of sales in January throughout the county was 79, with a median price of $381,000. Eureka had 24 sales, which is 30.4% of the market, median home price of $390,500. Fortuna, with 13 sales, had 16.5% of the market, median home price $525,000 in Fortuna. McKinleyville, with just 6 sales, 7.6% of the market, $482,000 for a median sold price there. And Arcata, with 5 sales, 6.3% of the market, and $510,000 as a median home price. So tell us, which markets are you closely watching? And then very quickly, before we shift gears, last month I promised to give an end of the year summary of California's real estate market. Data is still coming out, but here's what we know. The absorption rate in California in December was 2.7 months. Median sale price for a California single-family home was $850,680. And that's as of December, which was down 1.2% from December of 2024, but still twice the median home price of a Humboldt home that same month. So for 2025 as a whole, sales of existing statewide homes were up 0.9% from 2024 in all of California. So those are my statewide numbers and my local numbers, my keys of the month, if you will. So Ben, what are your keys of the month?
All right, let's jump into some more mortgage-related keys and data. Again, I'll kick it off with my rate comparison, and we're going from December of 25 to January of 26. This is again according to Freddie Mac's primary mortgage market survey for 30-year fixed-rate mortgages. So for the month of December, we had our average at 6.19%, as we mentioned last podcast, which was a 0.05 drop from November. And that was the lowest monthly average of 2025. So we closed out the year with the lowest monthly average of the year, which is a great sign moving into 2026. So let's compare that to January's numbers. Rate average for the month of January was about 6.09. We're about 0.1% below where we were in December, which is double the drop we saw from November to December. From 0.05 drop November to December, 0.1 drop December to January. So again, trending in the right direction for rates. Let me hit you with the weekly averages. The week ending January 8th we had an average of 6.16. The week ending January 15th, we had a rate of 6.06, which was our low for the month. So the low for the month of January was in the middle of the month. We did see a slight trend upwards, but not much in the second half of the month. The week ending January 22nd, we had a weekly average rate of 6.09. And then we closed out the month with an average of 6.10 for the month of January. So overall, 6.09, closing out the month at 6.1. Again, great trends, in the mortgage rate world. To sum things up, mid-month average of 6.06%. Rate stabilized around 6.1 at the end of the month. We're seeing some tension between the federal government and the Fed, between our president and the chair. So it's interesting to see that play out in real time. Don't want to get political, but that's a hot topic. It's in the news cycle, and it's, for me, from a rate perspective, in my 15 plus years of lending, I've never seen anything like this play out, in front of us. So it's pretty interesting to watch. It makes rates a little more exciting than they normally are to keep tabs on when there's some hot topics flying around, which we don't need to go into.
A question.
Sure.
Last January, do you have what the interest rate was in January of 2025?
We're about 0.9% below where they were January of 2025.
Right. So they were
up
about
over
8%. Is that what you're saying?
Up over 7%. Yeah.
To answer, just going back to the question you had asked me about why sales are up so much with prices being so flat, but interest rates being...
Why have they dropped so much?
Well, not so much. I'm not asking so much why they've dropped, but to answer your question about why sales are have increased so much is, again, just the prices being very stable while interest rates have dropped nearly a full percent. It's got buyers taking advantage.
Yeah, and there's so many things that go into the interest rate, whether it's economic numbers, unemployment numbers, which are tied into economics. There's been a very unusual situation with political pressure on the Fed chair to lower rates, and they have lowered rates, several times closing out last year, but the last time they did hold them steady. So where rates go throughout 2026, we'll have to keep a close eye on rates throughout this year. But right now, I think we're in a good spot. You're looking at FHA rates in the mid fives right now. So that's a strong position to be in when you compare that to anywhere in the last 2 years. So it's a good spot for buyers, especially FHA buyers, but even conventional buyers. The best rate time we've seen in probably close to 3 years right now. My next key of the month is application trends. I haven't touched on this in a little bit, but I wanted to touch on it today I really wanted to take a pulse at how much the decrease in interest rates has affected applications. In December of 2025, interesting enough, we actually saw a decline of about 5.3% in mortgage applications, and that's month to month. So from November to December, we saw a 5.3% decline in mortgage applications nationally.
Is that seasonal, would you say?
I think that's a major factor here. December is typically one of the slowest months in real estate. People aren't typically trying to dive into a mortgage process during the holiday time, right? You have Thanksgiving to Christmas to New Year's. That's probably every year around the slowest application time for mortgages. So that's not a huge surprise because we did see some of the best rates we'd seen, right, in 3 years in the month of December. Okay, so moving in to January a little bit, we saw a 14% increase in refinance volume. So the first half of January, a 14% increase over December, and then week over week, we saw a 20% increase in refinance applications from the second week to third week of January. And that's basically due to interest rates and then also the holdovers from the holiday time. So there's some makeup applications that'll come in January. And of course, if you're ramping up to buy in the spring, you need to get those applications going in, say, January, February for your pre-qualifications, so you're ready to go. So we start to see those applications really come in the second half of January and into February for all those 2026 buyers who think they're ready to go.
Oh, interesting. I would have imagined that they would come later in the spring after folks are done with their taxes.
Well, you do see a steady increase, but the biggest jump is going to be typically January and February. And those are honestly, if you're buying, the smart move for a buyer is to get your application in so that you're ready to go when that tax return is available. So that
That makes
you're
sense.
otherwise you could be behind the eight ball getting your approval. That can take a couple weeks, depending on the situation. If you have more complex underwriting scenario, it might take a month. It just depends on your scenario. Getting started early is a way to get an advantage on striking first on those properties that come available in the spring.
Good to know.
Yeah, so overall, refinance applications, we saw a big increase the first half of January and into the third week. But then at the end of January, there was a refinance decline of 16%. So I think that was when the Fed, decided to leave rates flat.
Mhm.
All of a sudden, the applications dropped off. But again, we saw a 14% increase and a 20% increase. So a 16% decline. We're still above where we were in December, well above where we were in December. So overall, still a big increase.
Do you ever compare year over year? So what it was like in January of 2025?
I haven't done that. I could do a year over year comparison. It's the refinance applications, especially, are so heavily driven by rates and rate announcements because when there's good news on the rate front, all those loan officers get on the phone and start calling their past clients to strike while the iron's hot, so to speak, and get that refinance volume in the pipeline. A couple more things on the refinance application things, real quick. Purchase applications have fluctuated but remain generally higher year over year, reflecting renewed buyer interest as rates eased from the 2025 highs. So we're seeing declining rates moving into 2026, and we're seeing application volume kind of a slow, steady creep up compared to the refinance volume goes up and down 14, 16% week to week, just depending on the rate environment, the news cycles that are coming out. So that does it for my keys of the month. I had rates and application volume. There were no
Great.
major guideline changes. I hit some really significant ones last month. If you guys want to go back and watch the January
Mhm.
edition, there were some really significant, I hit all of the loan limits for FHA and conventional loans. There's some underwriting changes, some appraisal changes. So go back and watch the January edition to catch up on all those. You wanna hit your listing of the month?
I would love to. I have a very exciting listing of the month. It's 1714 Peach Avenue in McKinleyville. And this is a unique opportunity to own a cozy cottage on a little over a half an acre. This is a one bath studio home. It's just 282 square feet. And it is move-in ready. But wait, there's more. An additional 3-bed, 1-bath structure is on the property with its own utilities, but it's going to need a total overhaul. So grab your tools and move into that cozy cottage while you get to work polishing up the additional unit. Or you can start from scratch. The possibilities are really vast here on this property. So 2 homes,
Mm.
0.57 acres in McKinleyville for an incredible $225,000. This is a great candidate for a rehabilitation or a renovation loan, or you can snag it with cash. I don't think this property is going to last long, but wait, there's even more. Go big or go home, right? The 2 parcels adjacent are also available, and they come with an additional 4 units for a total of 6 homes and 2 acres, all together packaged for $850,000. So great opportunities in McKinleyville right now to either refurbish these homes. Some of them are already rented and livable, or you can really take those 2 acres and develop them into some higher density housing. Possibilities are really vast here. So reach out for more information. I'd love to share that with you and see what we can do for this little property.
All right. Thank you so much. Sounds like
Yeah.
a really nice place.
Yeah, it's going to be, I'm excited to see what the next owner does with it or next owners because each of the 3 parcels will be available individually.
Okay.
You can snag them all for the 850,000.
Wow. Seems
Yeah.
like a pretty good deal.
I mean, 225,000 for a cozy little cottage on a little over half an acre sounds like a pretty good deal to me.
Sounds great. All right. All right. How about some community activities? What do we have coming up? Did you put together some community events for us?
Well, I have a
I have
few.
a
Do you
few
want to
too.
start?
Sure, sure. February 15th, right after Valentine's Day, we have the Ferndale Firemen's Games, and that's Main Street Ferndale, family friendly, volunteer fire department competitions and activities. So it's really a good time for the whole family. They can raise some money for the Ferndale Fire Volunteer Department and yeah, get out and have fun with the whole family. Other than that, just kind of the recurring stuff. I don't have a ton. The Arcadis Farmers Market every Saturday, Arts Alive the first Saturday in Old Town Eureka. And as we're kicking off 2026, I think it's really great and important for families to get out and support their local community, the farmers markets, the Arts Alive. Our local art community is
Hmm.
thriving, and just a good opportunity to get out and set the tone for 2026.
Absolutely. Well, I have a couple of events that are happening at the Eureka Theater I wanted to highlight. The Vagina Monologues are happening February 13th through February 15th, again at the Eureka Theater. Also at the Eureka Theater, February 21st, they'll be having a special screening of Best in Show as a tribute to the absolutely amazing Catherine O'Hara. She was really one of my favorite entertainers of all time. Just truly heartbroken at her passing, but let's celebrate all of her wonderful characters she created over the years.
That's right.
Also, there's quite a few Valentine's Day and Galentine's Day events happening. There's several cabarets, and yeah, nice opportunity to celebrate the people we love in our lives.
Absolutely.
And of course, just a reminder, now is a great time to be thinking about your spring gardens, whether it's for your own enjoyment or you're wanting to add a little curb appeal in anticipation of your spring listing. Just a little tip for you there. Put those bulbs in now.
All right. Well, thank you so much. I do want to touch on Cal Poly men's basketball last 4 home games of the year. The last 2 home games that I've been to, Cal Poly won on buzzer beater game winner shots. So they've been, and the crowd goes crazy. It's so fun to go watch those games. So that coming up Thursday, February 12th at 7:30 versus Cal State East Bay. Saturday, February 14th on Valentine's Day, if you don't have your plans set. 3 p.m. game versus San Francisco State. That'll be a really great game. San Francisco State has a great team this year. Thursday, February 26th at 7:30 p.m. versus Cal State Monterey Bay. Saturday, February 28th at 3 p.m. versus Cal State San Marcos. So the Saturday games at 3 p.m. are a great family-friendly event. If you're looking for something to do on a Saturday afternoon, head up to Cal Poly and watch the basketball team give it their all.
Awesome.
All right.
Good
Thank you so
stuff.
much. Yeah.
Put in your comments below any events you have coming up you want to share. Why not?
Yeah, we'd love to hear from you guys. I am Ben Larson with Larson Home Loans,
And I'm Annalise von Borstel at Hyperion Humboldt Realty.
and we want to thank you so much for joining us on the February edition of the Redwood Real Estate Report. We hope you'll join us again next month.
See you then.